Hey horror fans, welcome back to Room 237. Come at you with another review of a Boris Karloff film. This time we're going back to 1939 with, that is way too bright, The Man They Could Not Hang. Let me fix that. I'm still getting used to, because I do my thumbnails on this and I gotta keep going back and forth to different devices. It's a pain in the ass. The Man They Could Not Hang, which is the second film from this collection that I got early birthday gift last night for my girlfriend. And like the one before it, The Black Room, The Man They Could Not Hang is another gem. It's another film I really, really enjoyed. Great premise. Like many of his films, he plays a mad doctor, mad scientist, who is, well, this is actually, is considered an early sci-fi thriller. You know, because the 30s, sci-fi was, the extent of sci-fi was basically like Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, which was more gothic horror, but you know, the mad scientist. That was really what sci-fi was. And also, like Black Room, it doesn't really feel a lot like a straightforward horror film, which, scratch that, for the time it is, but it definitely feels more like a thriller, a sci-fi thriller. And which actually, it was directed by Nick Grinde, probably not pronouncing that right. Don't know what else he's done. Tablet's so damn slow. Phone was a lot faster to do these references. Selected filmography. Okay, well, this is actually really good. His next three films, or his next two films rather, The Man with Nine Lives and Before I Hang, the next two films on this. So that's interesting. That actually makes me even a little bit more excited for those because I liked his direction in this film. So that's neat. Cast: Lorna Gray, Robert Wilcox, Roger Pryor. No one I'm really familiar with. She also went by Adrienne Booth. Yeah. Not really familiar with anything she's done. Robert Wilcox does sound familiar. He was in the 1940 film serial Mysterious Dr. Satan. That's gotta be where Rob Zombie got his name. Anyway, so yeah, sci-fi thriller, Karloff, sort of returning or starting, you know, because this was still earlier in his, at least in his star career, 1939. A role that he's going to be known for quite a few times. The mad doctor, the mad scientist, who has made this contraption that can bring the dead back to life. It's pretty much just a bunch of glass. I think he calls it the heart. It's a bunch of glass things with fluids. It kind of does its thing. It's not super extravagant like a Frankenstein lab. But in the beginning of the film, he has a volunteer to be killed, you know, with gases. And Karloff and his assistant who is a normal guy assistant. He's not an Igor or a Fritz. To bring him back. Test subject, basically. But right after they put him essentially to sleep, to death, his fiance comes in, and apparently she knew about it. And it was like, stop it, you killed him. And then all these people come in, and it's like, you've killed this man. And he tries to defend himself by saying, no, he was a volunteer, I'm going to do this. It's going to bring him back, which of course sounds crazy. And Karloff does a great job. He sounds like a scientist. He's totally confident in his invention. And, you can see it in his eyes that he's really trying to plead with these people. I do like the lines of dialogue, where he says, now he's dead, but, like, for you to arrest me, that will keep him dead permanently. And, he pretty much puts his death on everyone else. But, of course, he gets arrested, he gets put on trial, he's found guilty, and he's put to death by hanging. And right before he's hanged, he has his assistant, he's very accepting of it. He says, once it's done, come and get me, and we'll show him it works. It doesn't show the hanging. It doesn't show him being dug up. We just see a casket being carried out. And then the next scene, we see him in his lab. He's got a neck brace. He's all, he's on the table. The machine was a success. And I like this scene too, because sort of being awakened has, he has this scene, like, his eyes get big and his assistant tries to tell him, like, you're going to be seen as a miracle. People are going to, like, marvel at you. And he's like, no. It's like, to them, I'm going to be a freak. I'm going to be part of a circus. And he wants pretty much a retribution on all those against him in his trial. So, and without getting into detail, because this is another movie that I highly recommend, if you're getting into Karloff or classic horror, or, I just recommend it in general. It's a very good movie. Pretty much, the rest of the movie, he gets the judge, district attorney, all the people involved to come to his house. But they don't know he's alive. But they find out, and he has this completely booby-trapped house. And he's kind of playing jigsaw with them. Say, like, your place cards at the dinner table is the number in which sequence you will all die, and with the exact time, because he's controlling everything. That's the rest of the movie. Spoilers from here on out. Definitely check this movie out. The Man They Could Not Hang, 1939. You might be able to find it on YouTube. They still have a bunch of these old movies. I would say it is up there with The Black Room. Karloff gives another almost dual performance as one character. He's a very respectable scientist in the beginning, but then in the second half, he's very, he's got evil in his eyes. He's very sinister. You can tell He's masterminded this whole thing. He's a step ahead of everyone. He's enjoying it. And that's one of the things about Karloff and why he's such a great actor. Because even in the same film, he can be a good guy and you can really love and respect it and root for him. But then when he's the bad guy or he's the monster, he's actually chilling. He's a scary guy. And he just has this natural look, like with his eyes and just the way he talks, like his body language. Just another powerhouse, wonderful performance by Karloff. Definitely check this out. Spoilers now. So yeah, basically after we see him on his table, we find out that the jurors have committed suicide by hanging, but we get the idea he's gone after him. And the judge, the DA, the fiance of his volunteer in the beginning, they all get this telegram to come to this house, which, Karloff then just shows up and they're all stunned that he's alive. I never even said his name. Dr. Savaard is his character's name. Can't believe I didn't even say that. And we get long scenes of dialogue about how, he's almost taunting them, like, oh, but how could it be if I am dead? And, talking to his fiance, like, oh, because at this point now they know his machine works. And, he even says these cold lines to the guy's fiance. It's like, but it's a pity that I'm here instead of your fiance. And just, yeah, one of his greatest attributes is his eyes and how his gift of visual acting. He can convey just the most sinister, evil looks. And, that's why he's quickly climbing the ranks for my favorite actor in general. I mean, Robert De Niro has been my favorite actor for years. And I loved actors like Christian Bale, Al Pacino, Jack Nicholson. I've always considered guys like Karloff and Lugosi to be horror actors. But, Karloff is beyond that. Karloff is really able to bring any project he's in really to life in a way not many actors can do. Like, okay, some people could say the same about, well, maybe not recently, but Johnny Depp. Very versatile. He just becomes, what, a wacky Tim Burton character or like a real life gangster or what have you. I mean, Karloff is just, and yeah, a lot of his characters are like monsters in one way or another. But he is one of the most chilling actors I've ever seen in more than one movie, in almost everything I see. But he's also one of the most moving actors. I mentioned in my review for The Black Room, like Bride of Frankenstein, when he's sobbing. It's beautiful to watch. But movies like this and The Black Room, he is scary. And, he's got the whole house rigged. Like, he's got a boilerplates on the doors and windows. The grill, which is basically a gate, is, rigged up with high voltage. The phones are rigged so they can't call out. And it's not as extreme, obviously, as, like, a Saw film. But, like, we do see a guy get electrocuted with, the gate. This other guy, it's implied that he is able to use the phone, but this needle goes right into his brain, and it's even tipped with poison, so if anyone touches it, they're fucked. But then his daughter shows up, and that's when she finds out he's alive. And you really get to see him go back and forth between these, because he talks through a speaker to the rest of the house. We see him sort of doing this, gleefully sinister, I keep saying sinister, dialogue about what he's doing to these people. But then when he sees his daughter, he's very loving. And he doesn't want her to be a part of this. And of course, it all amounts to she ultimately is willing to sacrifice herself. She says, I'm going to open the gate. It's up to you to hit the button, if you want to save me, but I am opening this gate. But of course, she gets electrocuted. He gets shot. But, that's when he puts everything aside. He's like, because he's weakened, he's dying. And he tells them, everyone get her upstairs. And they use the machine to bring her back. And the surviving people are actually kind of forgiving. And even the supporting acting, or like the supporting actors, I didn't mind. I thought they all did a fine job. A lot of acting at that time can kind of seem like a little hokey or overacting. I thought everyone did fine in this. Oh my god, my fucking nose. There's shit going around at work, and it sucks. Which, I was actually watching this with my girlfriend. And I'm guessing the moral of the story is no one has the right to play God. Death, as bad as it can be, it's something that's going to happen. Because just as he's dying, he uses the rest of his bullets in his gun, his rifle, to shoot and destroy the machine. And just as this doctor, a doctor who was questioned during the trial, comes in, he says, why did you destroy it? We pretty much have a miracle. Why'd you destroy it? And then he dies. I mean, it could be he learned to know once you play God. Maybe it's because he was finally ready to die. I like to think of movies like that as purposely ambiguous. I mean, just by looking on Wikipedia, well, it's just a very still too bright. You can't see that shit. It doesn't really go step by step. This is actually kind of interesting. The whole heart and lung machine, it was pretty much strictly science fiction. Like, it was just a crazy contraption. But it became a reality during open heart surgery. It's what's called the on pump. Surgery due to the development of microsurgery that does not require stopping the heart. Okay, so if I'm reading this correctly, which is also kind of quickly, the whole thing that he made in this, which was just a crazy science fiction machine, ended up becoming real. Someone probably saw it and was like, hey, that might actually work. Or just through the evolution of of medical science and just became a reality eventually. That was probably more likely. But, I didn't really know much about this movie. I knew it was about a guy who was hanged, a doctor who was hanged. Then he comes back, goes on a killing spree. I didn't know the level of this movie, like, as far as, like, the full story, but I really enjoyed this movie. All the performances are great, especially Karloff. I mean, it's up there with The Black Room. Another killer performance by Karloff. I really like his arc. He wants to build this machine that can bring us immortality, and he wants to prove it to the world, but then he needs to prove it so he doesn't become convicted. He gets convicted. He's hanged. He comes back, then he's vengeful. But then, having to use it on a loved one, he sort of learns, this isn't the time, or this isn't, no one should have that ability, or he just didn't want to come back. But I really enjoyed this movie, and the fact that the same director also directed the next two films on here really has me excited. And I don't really know much about the next ones. Man with 9 Lives, he's another scientist. He's a doctor in Before I Hang, scientist and The Devil Commands, and a scientist in The Boogeyman Will Get You. So pretty much The Black Room is the only one where he's not a scientist. I'm sure he does great in all of them. I can't wait to watch the rest of these. This was a damn good movie. And it might be tied with The Black Room. And if you saw my review for that, I loved that movie. But anyway, 1939's The Man They Could Not Hang. Great Boris Karloff film. Definitely check it out. Thank you for watching.